Good evening and welcome to Premier League Live on this Thursday evening on Matchday 14 as we finish our bumper midweek of festive football. Already we've seen 8 games this midweek over the last 2 nights and seeing some classic results, some big scorelines and some big setups as well. Tonight, 2 more games for you, one underway at the moment and one to come in just a few moments on the south coast. Fulham currently beating Brighton by a 1-0 at Craven Cottage. That kicked off around 40 minutes ago, and the 8:15 kickoff tonight is our game here on the south coast at the Vitality Stadium as Bournemouth take on Tottenham. Two sides where it's anybody's guess what result or what team is going to show up on any given occasion. Bournemouth as inconsistent as consistent, and Tottenham, well, you never know what one's going to turn up. The old Spursy kind of recommendation and claim is truer than ever as of recent times. These two love to give us an entertainment and an entertaining game, and let's hope tonight they don't cancel each other out, and hopefully tonight they give us even more entertainments. Let's round off this Premier League midweek with a cracker then. Let's have a look at the two teams. Starting with the home side, and Kepa starts in goal. A back four of Adam Smith, the captain, Ilya Zabarny, Dean Huijsen and Milos Kerkez are the defenders. Tyler Adams and Ryan Christie in a defensive midfield too, with Justin Kluivert in the 10. Kluivert, who scored a hat-trick of penalties at the weekend against Wolves, making it a new Premier League record. Antoine Semenyo off the right and Marcus Tavernier off the left, with Evan Nielsen through the middle. On the bench, Travers, Hills, Aarons, Kinsey Wellings, Cook, Ubatara, Billing, Brooks and Unal. For Tottenham, well, they're Spursy as always, as they say. Home games against Ipswich and Fulham, dropping points, but a thumping win over the champions at the Etihad. That's Tottenham for you. They start with Fraser Forster in goal. A back four of Archie Gray, who makes his first Premier League start this evening. He's alongside Radu Dragoshin, Ben Davies and Destiny Udogie in the defence. Yves Bissouma is joined alongside Pap Sarr and James Maddison, the captain, in midfield, with a front three of Dejan Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson and Dominic Solanke, formerly of Bournemouth, of course. He starts tonight. On the subs bench, Austin, Porro, Spence, Region, Bergval, Werner, Olesese, Son and Lancashire. Bournemouth on the south coast have beaten some big teams this season in the likes of Man City and Arsenal here. They want to make another giant killing and get rid of Tottenham too. But Tottenham, their last away game, as I said, was that huge victory away at Manchester City. Can they repeat that tonight and that type of performance tonight? We will see. Kick-off at the Vitality Stadium is on the way. A very good evening and welcome to round off this midweek match of fixtures. It's been a cracker week so far. As you can see, those big scorelines that we've had, some cracker games. All of last night we had some massive results, and we watched Arsenal take apart Manchester United on set pieces. Tonight, as I said, two teams that have consistency that knows no bounds with them. As I said, the only consistent thing about these two teams is their lack of consistency. No question over who's going to show up, what performance they're going to get, or even what team is going to find their way against them. We will see how they both perform tonight. They could cancel each other out, or it could go the complete opposite way and they could be firing against each other minute after minute. Let's hope and pray that the latter is the case for the neutral anyway. Spurs will get us underway this evening. Bournemouth, of course, in their home strip of black and red, and Spurs in their away strip this evening of that kind of pale blue colour. As we get underway with James Maddison kicking back to his defence, and that gets us going for this one on the south coast. As I said, one other game currently underway which is in London, West London, this evening at the Craven Cottage, where it is Fulham 1, Brighton 0. That's just coming to half time, so they kicked off at 7:30 this evening, and we'll keep up to date with that one as and when we have any updates for you. But as I was saying, you know, these two sides at the moment really don't know what consistency means. Spurs with 6 wins and 5 defeats and 2 draws from there. 13 Premier League games. Bournemouth 5 wins, 3 draws and 5 defeats. It is basically inconsistency personified with these two, and really, and it's anybody's guess what the result will be tonight in terms of that factor. As Kirkes tries to take that free kick quickly, plays it into Kluivert, well closed down by Dragoshin, who stepped across into Brennan Johnson. He's trying to fire Kulishevsky into space, but back there in a good position was Huijsen. His first start since September for Dean Huijsen, coming in for Marcus Senesi. He starts in the defence alongside Zabarnyi this evening, as Spurs almost give it away there with Kulishevsky. Nice play into Sarr. Here's Bissouma. It's a spinner back to Ben Davies. He's down the left-hand side. Lovely flick on by Kulishevsky, and here's a doggy. Breaks down the left-hand side, and Ilya Zabarnyi getting back in and clearing his lines for Bournemouth. That's exactly what we expect to see tonight, that really attacking approach from Tottenham. They do not kind of apologise for the way they play football. Ange Postecoglou seems to be the type of manager that would rather win a game 3-4-3 or 5-4, or high scoring game, rather than win a game 1-0. Seems to be that type of manager, and he talked about it, about that pragmatism isn't in his blood, it isn't in his kind of regime with Tottenham. It's all about attacking, it's all about getting forward, it's all about creating chances. And for the neutral, it's fabulous to watch, but I'm sure for Tottenham fans at some level, when they're winning games of football, they keep flooding forward. Sometimes you just hold it, manage the game, and sometimes that could kind of play into the inconsistency of Spurs, but Ange Postecoglou does not apologise for it, and if he wins something, nor should he. As Dominic Solanke wins Spurs a free kick off Tyler Adams. Of course, Dominic Solanke making his return to Bournemouth, where he scored 19 Premier League goals. But interesting, that is the number that's on the back of his shirt this evening, of course. Made that big money move to Spurs in the summer. And of course, his fee partly funded the man who took his place in this team. Of course, Evan Nielsen taking over for Dom Solanke in the summer. Up at the Bournemouth centre forward. As here's Bissouma trying to work it into the box. Well defended that time by Senesi. Or not Senesi, sorry. Semenyo. Bournemouth try and break away. And there's going to be a pull here on Justin Kluivert. And a free kick for Bournemouth. And a yellow card for Ben Davies. See it again. It's really nice by Antoine Semenyo. Just broke away into space. And then it was Evan Nielsen who got the ball from Semenyo, and he was trailed to the ground by the Welsh defender for Spurs, Ben Davies, and that gets one of the Spurs centre-backs an early yellow card, which I'm sure is something that will of course be watched very closely, as Dragoshin did well there against Kluivert. Justin Kluivert, who will be highlighted for this game, of course, as I said, broke that Premier League record. No team, no player had ever scored a hat-trick of penalties in the same game for a team. Well, that was what Justin Kluivert did, the first player to ever do that in Premier League history. At the weekend against Wolves in that 4-2 win. Of course, it had happened before in the Carabao Cup, or the League Cup, as it would have been known back then. But it hasn't happened in the Premier League up until Saturday. And Justin Kluivert did it. Here is Solanke. Up against Tyler Adams again. And went down again, but the referee waved away any sort of foul. Our referee, by the way, this evening is Simon Hooper. VAR is John Brooks. As here's Madison. Lovely ball into the path of Kulishevsky, who will shoot. And who will shoot it straight at the Bournemouth goalkeeper, Kepa. Former Chelsea keeper, Kepa Arrizabalaga. It's a really nice turn by Madison in the midfield. Spun forward and played it really nicely, just straight forward into the path of Dejan Kulishevsky. He arrived on the edge of the box and a shot just really lacked the pace and power. Sarr wins it back off Tavernier and will win a free kick as Tavernier had a grip of Papsar. So a free kick to Spurs. Clivert helping and winning it back. Adams now finds Semenyo, steps across into the middle. Antoine Semenyo now out to the left hand side comes Tavernier. Wants to try and return the ball, but blocked off by Archie Gray, and Madison will pick up in the middle for Tottenham. Just gone half time at Craven Cottage. It's Fulham 1, Brighton 0. Fulham goal scored by Alex Iwobi. So Fulham leading at the break in that game. Here's Bissouma. Turns it out to the left hand side for Johnson, and now into the box comes Kulishevsky, who wants to cut it back, but no one in Spurs colours there in the middle, and Kerkez can clear his lines, and then a foul on another foul by Ben Davies on Evan Nielsen. Evan Nielsen's asking the question of a second yellow, but it's not a second yellow that from Ben Davies. It's cynical, but a second yellow would be a bit harsh for the Spurs centre back, but he certainly has to watch himself. Evan Nielsen's going to be a real physical tussler this evening with Ben Davies, and so far Evan Nielsen's won that battle a couple of times. As Kepa takes the free kick long. Evan Nielsen again threatening in behind, chested it down, but no one there to help him out in supports. As Madison brought it down deftly there. Sarr into Kulishevsky, back to Madison. He wants to spin Solanke in behind. Dominic Solanke gets the better of his defender, and Solanke skies the shot over the bar. Very fortunate there, Dean Huyson. Got very lucky. Lovely dink ball over the top by Madison. Huyson couldn't control it the first time. Solanke was there, latched upon it, beat his defender. As he takes the touch, he looks up, hits the strike, but skies it over the bar. Untouched, really. Just a wasteful effort. But Huyson got a bit lucky there. And Dom Solanke, I'm sure, would love to score against his former club. Ange Postecoglou was asked about it beforehand and said that he was sure that Dominic Solanke had this one marked in his calendar, but he's still going to play for Spurs. He's still going to battle everything, give everything for Tottenham tonight. He's in their colours and he's representing Spurs, and he will give his all for the club. Ange Postecoglou was talking about as Archie Gray on the underlap against Kulishevsky. Now Madison spins away from Tavernier, trying to go for the 1-2 with Kulishevsky, but Bournemouth have that one covered. So here is Tavernier. Back to Kerkez. We'll break into midfield, Milos Kerkez, and swing it out to Smith on the far side. So it comes down to Semenyo on the right flank. Infield to Christie. Back to Semenyo. Antoine Semenyo, another great skilled player here for Bournemouth. Certainly full of quality in that front line of Bournemouth. No question. Justin Kluivert, Antoine Semenyo, Evan Nielsen and Marcus Tavernier as well. That front four is threatening as any in the Premier League. 20 Premier League goals this campaign so far for Bournemouth. Forster out to Archie Gray under pressure, and Tavernier getting a touch in there, but will be a Spurs throw. Archie Gray, of course, making his first Premier League start this evening. Has started a few cup games and European games for Spurs, but this is his Premier League debut. A full Premier League debut, shall I say. Starting at right back this evening. It's a good win back by Bournemouth on the edge of the box by Adams, and Christie tried to carry it through. Spurs clear the lines, and now Zabarni's had his pocket picked by Solanke. Breaking away is Solanke into space. Bodies around him. Wants to get a shot off and blocked by Huyson and behind for the Spurs corner. Again, a bit lethargic there from Zabarni. No awareness whatsoever that Dominic Solanke was lurking. No calls or nothing from his teammates. Zabarni just turns back on himself as he gets the ball in space, and Solanke just nips in, steals it away from him. Bournemouth do well to kind of close the gaps on the cover with Smith and Huyson, but Zabarni got his team into a bit of bother there. And Spurs get a corner on the left hand side, the first corner of the game. There's a right footed delivery by Madison, away by Evan Nielsen, back in by Gray. Again Evan Nielsen towering above everyone, and now breaking away is Kluivert. As Spurs have a lack of bodies at the back, as Archie Gray does get involved and does really well on the recovery challenge and wins it back. Archie Gray, of course, 18 years of age, doesn't turn 19 till March of next year. Certainly a great young talent for Tottenham. Of course, joined for over £35 million in July from Leeds. Came through the Leeds Academy, did Archie Gray. Great position there. Kluivert was just breaking away, and Gray did just enough. Gets a foot in the way and blocks the kind of touch from Kluivert and just takes it away from the attacker. It's really good defending when his team looked in a bit of bother at the back. He stepped across and got the block in. Bournemouth do have a free kick on this right hand side. Kluivert and Tavernier over it. Kluivert's ball very low, so it can swing back out to Tavernier. He will go for the cross. He chips it into the box, but too high and too wide for any of his teammates, and a goal kick will come for Tottenham. And Spurs have won the last two meetings between the sides, done the double over Bournemouth last season. That was the first time they'd done the double over Bournemouth since the 2017-18 season. See if they can start with the same initiative this season. Here's a doggy. Johnson has to turn it back the way to Bissouma. Certainly a very fluid attack from Spurs at the moment. Brennan Johnson playing off that left-hand side. Also on that side is Kulishevsky, so they're very fluid in moving around the area, those areas of the pitch. Dragoshin tried to chip it over the top for Gray to chase, but that one a bit too overhit, and a goal kick for Bournemouth. Well, there's no questioning that Spurs' approach this season will be to attack with everything that they've got. It is the philosophy of their manager, but whether it will win them trophies is another question. We talk all the time about teams that win competitions, that win trophies. You need to grind out results sometimes. You need to win those tight games. Win those games that are tight, that are close, that are in the balance. And that's the difference between maybe being a team that's chasing Europe and a team that gets in Europe consistently, that is always up at the upper echelons of the league table. That's a nice ball played down the left-hand side for Johnson, who looking for Kulishevsky in the box, but again Bournemouth get in the way. Here's Zabarni as well against Brennan Johnson there, and now Smith wants to look for Semenyo, who flicks it on nicely for Evan Nielsen. He's got Dragoshin in the way, and Evan Nielsen just about beaten by Radu Dragoshin, and the ball back by the Spurs centre-back to his keeper was very awkward. Still in play though, as Foster kicked it up in the air, and a cross into the box away by Gray. Bit of chaos there at the back from Spurs. Dragoshin's incredibly fast pass back to his keeper, who couldn't control it, had to just kick it up in the air, and Spurs didn't recover the ball. Bournemouth were the first to react and keep it in play. So here's Semenyo. Back to Christie. Out wide again to Smith. Bodies in the box. Smith with a cross. Bit of a bobble. Evan Nielsen. But Foster in the way. Again, more chaos from Spurs. The cross from Smith. Really nicely worked. He's well onside. Smith just rolled it across the 6-yard box. It kind of bounces off one defender of Spurs, Dragoshin, onto... I'm trying to see if it's a doggy. It is. And Dragoshin loses it the second time, and Evan Nielsen's there to latch onto it. And a good reactionary save by Fraser Forster puts it behind for the Bournemouth corner. Again, a bit of nerves at the back there from Spurs. Certainly not the most convincing bit of defending we've ever seen. Now they have a corner to defend from his right hand side. Lots of height in there in that box for both teams. Left footed delivery by Tavernier and headed on and in by Dean Huijsen. Bournemouth from the set piece, whipped to the back post. Huijsen unmarked and heads it across goal to give Bournemouth the lead. Calamity from Spurs at the back led to that corner, of which they could not defend, and Bournemouth find the first goal, break the deadlock, and it is the centre back for Bournemouth, who hasn't had a start since September. Just runs free as a bird inside the 18-yard box. No one tracking. I think it might be Dragoshin who lets him run. And Huijsen there to just head it across goal. Bournemouth 1, Tottenham Hotspur 0. Andoni Iraola punches the air in celebration. And Dino rings around the vitality in support of their centre-back. And that's his first goal for the club on his first start since back in September. Bournemouth 1, Spurs 0. You could just sense it, really, in that moment when Spurs looked a bit shaky at the back and they were giving away cheap passes and cheap giveaways. Just really not convincing defensively. You knew Bournemouth kind of smelt something. And set pieces are, at times, the kryptonite of Tottenham. They struggle to deal with them. Both attacking set pieces and defending them. Although they want to have a response here as Kulishevsky and Madison link up well there to win a corner. And look for the instant impact. An instant response. The corner whipped in and near the post and headed wide by Dominic Solanke. It's whipped to the near post and Solanke was well wide of the goal. Would have been some header if he had got that on target. But quite expectedly, he heads it well wide. There's Ange Postecoglou there shaking his head on the sidelines. Clivert with a bit loose. Gives it away to Gray. There's Bissouma. Breaks away from Clivert on the follow-up. Links it into the box to find Kulishevsky, who will shoot. That curling effort was curling well wide. Goal kick. It was good play by Spurs in between the lines. Nice ball. And then Kulishevsky just tried to manoeuvre his way around in the box, and the space was just not there. He got the shot off, but the execution of this effort left a bit to be desired, shall we say. Well, it's not only Dean Huijsen who's got his first goal for Bournemouth, it's a record for the club as well. He becomes their youngest ever scorer in the Premier League. At just 19, born in April 2005, becomes the club's youngest ever Premier League goal scorer. Gray. Sarr. Now Madison. Back out to Archie Gray. The Spurs just try and get into their rhythm again. That early sucker punch has them behind. Archie Gray has nowhere to go but turned back on himself, and Bissouma had to get that touch around Evan Nielsen, otherwise he would have been in bother, as he does, and now tries to turn defence into attack, but Semenyo's back there to help out, and Bournemouth have an outlet with Kluivert breaking down the right flank, held back, but Christie will allow the game to play on as the referee plays advantage. Christie couldn't cross it, back out to Semenyo, now out to Tavernier, who will put it back into the box, but wasn't on the same page as his centre forward there, and it just rolled for a goal kick. And I think the referee's just going to give a yellow card out here to Yves Bissouma. I said he played advantage after Kluivert was fouled on the sidelines there, and he was just pulled back. And it's a cynical one by Yves Bissouma, but it is certainly deserving of a yellow card. Attempting to stop a promising attack, which is a yellow card offence, and Yves Bissouma gets himself a booking. And the second Spurs player to be booked this evening. Certainly not been a plain sailing start in the first 21 minutes for Tottenham. 2 yellow cards and 1-0 down. Bournemouth have certainly asked a lot of questions so far at Tottenham. Here's Bissouma. Udogie. Down the left to Brennan Johnson. Again, Semenyo there to break it apart, and Christie with a nice chip ball over the top. Semenyo with a heavy touch, which allows Bissouma to mop it up. But again, Smith convincing himself forward and trying to win the throw-in, but gives away the throw-in instead to Tottenham. That's a bit of a poor play by Papsar. It goes straight out of play. And Bournemouth will get the throw. Seems to be a lack of sharpness in Spurs tonight. Ange Postecoglou put down to the fact of his changes this evening for his team, with Son being on the bench, said about rotation for his team, and of course making sure that no players are overly fatigued. But so far tonight it does look a bit shaky for Spurs in possession at times. Not as convincing on the ball as what they could be and what they have been at times this season. Of course, we talk about Spurs, and we say it all the time about them, that, you know, they get the nickname Spursy, and it is now kind of coined a phrase where anybody gives away a lead or does something so idiotic where you think you could never lose from that position, it's classed as Spursy. A situation that seems so likely to be in your favour turns out to be against you. That's Tottenham. They've been inconsistent as long as I can remember. And it just seems to be a similar kind of embedded in their team now. But Ange Postecoglou is determined to change that. So far, in the second season, still seeing those similar symptoms as Milos Kerkez is fouled. This time the referee doesn't go to his pocket, but does give Bournemouth a free kick. But with just one win in the last 5 games in all competitions, it does beg the question for Spurs: where is the consistency? That sole win in the last 5 was that game away at Manchester City. We've actually failed to win any of the last 3 home games. Drew at home to 10-man Fulham at the weekends, drew at home to Roma in the Europa League, and then that 2-1 defeat at home to Ipswich at early November has certainly kind of marked this last few games of real inconsistency and lack of positivity around Spurs, really. Interestingly, 2 of the last 3 wins in all competitions actually have come against Manchester City, and Aston Villa was the other one. So they perform against the top teams, but when it comes to those teams where they should be beating and should be picking up points, it seems Spurs have that lack of kind of control, really, at times, and seem to find it difficult against the teams lower down the table. No disrespect to the likes of Ipswich and Fulham, but Spurs are expected to find their way through those teams if they want to be competing in Europe anyway. As Evan Nielsen trying to chest that one down, but good pressing by Bissouma as a doggy breaks away. Back to Bissouma again. To find Kulishevsky on the right, who spins away from Kerkez. And Milos Kerkez not giving up on it. Wins it back. And puts it out for the throw. Again, Spurs just unable to keep control of the ball as Gray, in a bit of bother, loses out to Tavernier, but he runs into trouble in Bissouma. Now Madison. Again stolen away from him by Christie. Semenyo couldn't keep it. Lots of turnovers in possession, and Ryan Christie has just given away a free kick to his opposing number in James Madison, and a free kick to Spurs. Now, to be fair, Bissouma Brennan Johnson, actually just shoving at Christie in that moment, and then he followed up and maybe a bit of frustration showing against James Madison. It was certainly a foul, no question about that. Doggy out on the left hand side, does rescue to find Ben Davies at the back. Dragoshin. Out wide it comes now with Kulishevsky. Overlapping was Archie Gray. Followed all the way back there by Tyler Adams. He's trying to battle to win the ball back, but Gray's doing well at holding the ball up at the moment out in that right flank. Really good close control by Gray, and then passes it off into the tight space. Finds Kulishevsky in the box, but he's crowded out by Bournemouth players as Bournemouth try and break away, but referee allows play to continue as Spurs trying to get into the box, but Madison couldn't find a way through, and it's gone for a corner. See it again, really nice play in between the lines, and it's Kerkez that comes across, blocks James Madison. He had the last touch, which went behind, so Spurs get a corner. It's the third corner of the game so far. 27.5 minutes gone. Let's see what Madison can deliver. Up and away by Bournemouth. They're not only good at attacking corners, but defending them too, it seems. The Cherries. Here's Sarr. Steps away from his marker, finding Dragoshin. Comes all the way back here with Udogie, and now Bissouma. And Sarr again. It's all about Spurs just gathering that little bit of control in the game. Has been a bit open. Has been a bit lacking in sharp, crisp passing so far. The passing's been a bit off the ball slightly, and not as sharp as probably Ange Postecoglou would like at the moment. As Madison plays it to Bissouma. Nice ball into Kulishevsky in the central areas, but lots of black and red shirts in the way. As Kerkez makes the challenge, and now gets Kluivert off on his bike. And now Evan Nielsen, as Bournemouth looking to counter quickly here. Evan Nielsen breaking down the left hand side, trying to find a pass into the middle, finds Semenyo. Holds off his marker, spins around and shoots. Takes a deflection off Davies, and it will bounce out for a throw-in on the left-hand side. Very good close control by Semenyo there. That's one thing about Bournemouth. They're not afraid to take risks. Talked about by their own players and Andoni Iraola himself, that he expects organised chaos from his team. What a phrase that is. Organised chaos. And so far that's certainly what we've witnessed in the first nearly half an hour. It's Tavernier. Kluivert does well on the byline to try and whip it in, but I think it just had gone behind, and does go for a goal kick. Just for a split second it looked like Kluivert had just kept that one in, but the officials spotting that it had crossed the byline, so goal kick was given. Spurs waste no time in taking and trying to get the ball forward. Certainly no lack of urgency with Spurs tonight. There is that belief, there is that incentive to get forward, to get the ball into attacking areas, but at the moment So the lack of execution at the moment, it isn't really doing Spurs any favours. Here's Maddison. Tried to roll it forward, but again rolled it into pressured zone. And now Evan Nielsen there to pick up the loose ball. He's got Tavernier alongside him. Evan Nielsen wants to flick it in behind, and Tavernier finds the back of the net, but the flag's going to go up against Marcus Tavernier. I think you could see that from a mile off that he was offside, but yeah, he was well offside there, Marcus Tavernier. Evan Nielsen maybe went just a split second too late. Just thought if he was going to pass it, he should have passed it just a second or so earlier, and he would have been miles onside Tavernier, but just that little split second too late, and just find himself in an offside position. They do look on fire tonight, that front three, front four of Bournemouth, where they can cause issues, they can threaten this Spurs team that aren't afraid really to throw bodies forward. Spurs, we talk about it all the time, they commit bodies forward, they get bodies up the field, but it can be a detriment to you when you've got a team that have such great quality and really good at, with their forward line holding up the play, as Bournemouth do. We have a goal in West London to tell you about at Craven Cottage, and it is an equaliser for Fabian Hürzeler's Brighton. Fabian Hürzeler not actually on the touchline tonight at Craven Cottage, up in the skies, in the stands after receiving a touchline ban in that game against Southampton last Friday night. Carlos Baleba has got the equaliser for Brighton, so it's Fulham 1, Brighton 1. And they're into the second half, of course. They're about on the 60th minute at the moment, so quite a bit further ahead than us here on the south coast. Well, Bournemouth's last victory against Tottenham came at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, actually, back in April of 2023, in a 3-2 win. Fabulous game that was that time round, and it came through a 95th minute winner from Dango Ouattara, who's on the bench this evening for Bournemouth. Dominic Solanke actually scored for Bournemouth on that day, now playing for the opposing team in this one. In the last two occasions, obviously, as I said, Spurs did the double over Bournemouth last season, winning 2-0 here and 3-1 in North London. And as I said, for the first time since 17-18, James Maddison and Kulusevski were the two goal scorers here in their meeting in early of last season, actually Matchday 3 of last season, in early August of the last campaign. So far this first half has been Spurs with more possession, but again, not testing Kepa as much as probably Ange Postecoglou and the Spurs fans would have wanted, and certainly the Tottenham team, as Pap Sarr is penalised there for a slight push on Milos Kerkez, and Kerkez winning Bournemouth a free kick. Well, Milos Kerkez, of course, the Hungarian, 21-year-old Hungarian, another one that's hot-footed to be his future to be destined for one of the top teams, either in the Premier League or in the world, seen as one of the next great up-and-coming fullbacks as Milos Kerkez, and so far since joining Bournemouth in July of last year, has impressed some of the top teams that have been linked with him over the last 6 to 8 months. We'll see whether he will be here at the start of next season. Milos Kerkez, I'm sure many will be knocking the door, asking the question, whether it be this season or next. Here's Christie. So far, with this upward trajectory of Bournemouth, who knows? Might want to stay here. As Solanke trying to latch upon a loose pass by Christie, but that's fabulous defending by Dean Huijsen. Gets across and does really well against Solanke. Huijsen again using his body in the way of that Spurs attack. Certainly been called into action at both ends so far. The Bournemouth number 2. It's Bissouma looking to switch it, but completely telegraphs that one. And it goes all the way out to the far right hand side and nowhere near where Tottenham needed it to go. That's exactly my point this evening. It's just that lack of sharpness on the ball from Spurs. It's just been real lack of any sort of control or cohesion or intensity in the right areas. And that's what Spurs are built on under Ange Postecoglou, that intensity, that high press, that sharp, quick, intricate passing. Not seen enough of that tonight from a Spurs point of view, and from Bournemouth's point of view, they've had it pretty easy in terms of defensively. They've done well in their 50-50 battles of Bournemouth so far this evening. One more aerial duels and more ground duels than Spurs tonight have Bournemouth. Certainly winning those battles early on, which is something that is important. As Christie got a bit loose again with the ball as Maddison picks it up for Tottenham. Now Gray out wide to Sarr, looking for those early crosses. Will whip it in early, but again, nowhere near where it needed to go there from Pap Sarr, and Bournemouth in no hurry to get it moving again and let it roll for the throw on the far side. Those early crosses are certainly causing no trouble to Bournemouth anyway. Bournemouth team who actually would go above Tottenham tonight if they were to win. As it stands, they would be above Tottenham. They would go up to 8th, Bournemouth. If they were to win this evening, Spurs would be just below them in 9th place. And Bournemouth would have just a single point more than Tottenham if they were to take all three this evening. 21 to Spurs' 20, if that were to be the case. Certainly a tester this season would Bournemouth be if they were to win tonight. They could put themselves in that conversation for maybe being a European side, as they've given it away here with Kerkez. Kulishevsky couldn't find a way past Huijsen again. It will be a corner, but again, it's nice ball. Kerkez does break it apart initially, but runs into trouble, and Pap Sarr wins it back. He plays it nicely into Kulishevsky in the box and tried to go for the cross, blocked by Huijsen, and Spurs will get the corner, of which Kulishevsky will take. Whipped into the box, away by Huijsen again, and Christie under pressure by Bissouma. Just got a heavy touch on that one, and Spurs will have the throw on the far side. 7 minutes plus additional time to go in the first half. Bournemouth 1, Tottenham 0. Dean Huijsen, the goal scorer, the Bournemouth centre back, who, as I've said, has been very heavily involved in both ends of the pitch for the Cherries so far tonight. Here's Bissouma trying to cross it. Again, blocked this time by Adam Smith. Goes behind for a corner. Well, Adam Smith has had his time at Spurs, of course. Came from the Spurs Academy. Did the Bournemouth right back this evening. Went on those long loan spells at many a club before permanently joining Bournemouth back in January of 2014. Almost 11 years at the football club. Adam Smith, a real servant of this team in Bournemouth, and starting again tonight and captaining the club tonight. It's Bournemouth defending another corner, but defending it well again as Tavernier picks up the second ball, and now Kluivert in space. Could do a bit of defending. It's good defending. 1-1 back by Bissouma. Alright, a doggy back to us. Bissouma again. Now Kulishevsky gonna whip it in. Took a deflection on the way through, but it will find Milos Kerkez, and Bournemouth can break away down the left hand side, but Kerkez just a bit too loose in that pass, and Tavernier couldn't get on the end of it. Throw in to Tottenham. Well, if you were just to take into account the possession, Spurs certainly dominating that aspect. 69% of the ball to Bournemouth's 31%. So certainly dominating the ball are Spurs. But again, I don't really feel at any point in this first half where I've thought, Oh, Bournemouth are lucky to get away with that one, or Spurs have really tested the goalkeeper there. I don't really remember a moment like that in this first half where Spurs have really tested Kepa, or indeed quite drastically put Bournemouth under major pressure. I think so far Bournemouth have dealt with anything that Spurs have thrown at them, and dealt with it really well, and had a counter punch to go with it, going the other way. Here's Forster. Now Dragashin turns back into midfield and has to go back to Forster again, who had to hook that one clear and quickly as there was Bournemouth players emerging. Semenyo tried to adjust into the challenge. Ball given away though as Madison tries to send Solanke on a run down the right flank. Solanke up against Huijsen again, out on this right hand side. We'll play it off to Kulishevsky now as Huijsen kind of retakes his position. Solanke now to Madison. And Bissouma out to Adoge. Into Madison again. Tries to force it through, but Kulishevsky bouncing it off him, and Semenyo helping out and clearing it away. Smith hooks it up the field, and Evan Nielsen, apologies, trying to make a nuisance of himself, but kind of caught Ben Davies on the way through, and a free kick will go Spurs' way. Keen battle so far tonight between Ben Davies and Evan Nielsen. Goodness me. I've just seen another awful pass. That probably sums up the whole of the first half really for Spurs. Good moment, good chance, good opportunity to get the ball forward, and it's an awful pass into the path of Madison. Completely overhits, and it goes rolling out for a Bournemouth throw. Another wasted opportunity. I mean, we'll talk about it at half time. We'll analyse this first half and we'll really bring it into context with the statistics and the way the game's flowed as Semenyo bricks away. This is a chance for Bournemouth. Tavernier down the left hand side. He's got Kerkez in the overlap. Wanted to shoot himself, but well charged down by Sarr. And now Kulishevsky can break free, battling with Tavernier, who gets back into position. Kulishevsky finds it through the middle. Couldn't find Madison and calls a handball there. Bournemouth a bit loose again, but nicely picked up by Elie Zabarnyi. Trying to find it in behind for Evan Nielsen, who breaks away from his man. No foul, says the referee. Evan Nielsen on his own here. Has to find a bit of help. Holding it up as Spurs flood bodies back, and not enough support and not quickly enough for Bournemouth. They do keep the possession for the moment. Zabarnyi. Smith. Back to Zabarnyi. 2 minutes or so to go with the first half. And Bournemouth leading by a goal to nil. Nice touch by Huijsen. Plays it into Kerkez. Now Kluivert. Kerkez on the underlap. Gets to the byline. Crosses it. And oh, what a save by Forster. Fabulous save. Beautiful play by Bournemouth down the left hand side. Really nice interchange of play. Kerkez on the underlap, on the inside of his man. Gets to the byline. Cuts it across, and Marcus Tavernier gets across his man well and just tries to flick it, glance it across goal. Just swipes at it, lovely. And Forster with a pure reactionary save. Strong left hand, denying Marcus Tavernier a close range effort. Fabulous. Another close call there for Tottenham. If they'd have went 2-0 down, it would really be a proper crisis in this match, considering what we've seen so far. I'd have to argue Bournemouth have probably been the better team and deservedly ahead. Spurs, yes, dominated possession, yes, had more shots, yes, had more chances, but really, on the balance of things, this first half has been really quite impressive from Bournemouth's point of view, and quite reflective of a team that have beaten last season's top two in Arsenal and Man City here. This first half certainly reflecting a team that are capable of competing with the top teams in this division. Lovely challenge by Adams. Wins it back again, Tavernier. As we will have one added minute at the end of the half. half that, as I would say, Bournemouth have been the better side. As Zabarnyi's ball forward, kept in by Semenyo on that right hand side up against a doggy. Rush forward, gives it back to Smith, and now back to Zabarnyi, who breaks into midfield there. Ilya Zabarnyi now. Semenyo continues his run. Here's Ilya Zabarnyi. Look for the cross. Well blocked by Ben Davies, who got a cross, but a doggy's got a bit of trouble. Davies clears it away again. Spurs trying to nick it round the corner. Lovely touch by Madison as Brennan Johnson skips away from a challenge. And look at that for a pass. All the good, nice, cute football, but the pass was dreadful. Rescued though by Sarr. Now Archie Gray, as we have passed the 1 hour minute, but maybe one last chance in the half for Spurs. Johnson won't get the time to get it, as Simon Hooper, the referee, calls to an end the first half, where, as I said, Spurs have had more possession, more kind of positivity in the final third in terms of shots, but it's been Bournemouth that have been the better side, and you'd struggle to find anybody that would argue against that, and that is exactly why the scoreline reflects what it does. Half time at the Vitality Stadium. It's Bournemouth 1, Tottenham 0. Analysis on the way next. Welcome back to the Vitality Stadium. Half time. It is Bournemouth 1, Tottenham 0. Dean Huyson's goal from a corner, that header, has Bournemouth leading at the break against the Tottenham side, who again have been off the boil really. Not at the races tonight so far have Tottenham been. Let's have a look at how the Premier League week has gone so far over the last few nights. We've seen some big games, some big action, and some high-scoring games over the last few nights. 25 goals alone from our 6 games last night. That equates over the last 2 nights in those other 8 games to a total of 30 goals from those 8 Premier League games. So far, 3 goals tonight. So well on the way to having a high-scoring match week once again in the Premier League. Some big scorelines. Leicester's 3-1 win over West Ham on Tuesday night. Everton's 4-0 thrashing of Wolves. Last night, City back to winning ways, winning 3-0 at home to Forest. That 6-goal thriller between Newcastle and Liverpool that ended 3-3. The 5-1 win against for Chelsea against bottom of the league Southampton. And of course some other big results with Arsenal winning at home against United and Villa's 3-1 win over Brentford as well. Some big games, some big results, and certainly some big wins along the way over the last few nights. As we bring this first big week of festive fixtures in the Premier League to a close tonight, as they're entering the final 15 minutes at the Craven Cottage between Fulham and Brighton. It looks to be that one is could be ending a draw. At the moment, as it stands, it would be a draw. Alex Iwobi, after just 4 minutes, gave Fulham the lead in the first half, and in the second half, Carlos Baleba for Brighton got the Seagulls back on terms, but still with around 15 to go. It is still 1-1, but you never know, there can be late drama, as there has been previously in the Premier League. Late drama is not too uncommon in the Premier League, and I wouldn't rule it out in that one either. So that is still to come, and we'll update you if anything changes in that one. You'll be first to hear about it here this evening. Right, let's just really put into context that first half between Bournemouth and Tottenham. A first half that really, as I said before the game, inconsistency is the most consistent thing between these two teams. You never know what team is going to show up, what performance they're going to give, who's going to perform, who's going to underperform, who's not going to really show up on the night. And tonight, the scoreline fairly reflects the way the game has been. Bournemouth have been the better side. I think in possession, I think they've been much more comfortable on the ball. I think Bournemouth have been sharper with their passing, much crisper, much more kind of intricate in their play, but also not afraid to take a few extra risks. I think a couple of times we're seeing those balls down the wide areas, kind of taking men on. We've seen Evan Nielsen and Ben Davies battling it out in that central area all throughout that first half. A couple of times the Bournemouth centre forward getting the better of the Spurs centre back, but that battle really kind of shows what Bournemouth's incentive is tonight. They're not here to mess about. They're not here to kind of make up numbers. They're here to compete, and they're here to really win this game of football, and you can see that. There's that intensity, there's that incentive. When Bournemouth get the ball, they're not looking to tap it around the back or wait about. They're looking to get it forward, get it moving quickly, and get it into their front men. Those 4 players, as I said, who've looked like they're up for it tonight. And when they're up for it, they're one of the best producing attacks in this league because they're consistent, they've got the quality, and they've got the ability to find the ball to find their teammates in the final third and get the ball into the back of the net. Plus, they overload defences. You know, when you're playing against the front 4, which Spurs are tonight, and when Spurs commit bodies up the field, you've got that 4 coming against you, you're going to have problems. And it's so far, Bournemouth have outnumbered them in those areas, and that's why they're getting the ball forward quicker, that's why they're getting it into good areas, and that's why they're overperforming, or certainly performing better than Spurs anyway, in those areas. The goal, quite ironically, has got nothing to do with those overloads or any of that. It's just really poor. From a Spurs point of view, when you look at corners and set pieces, and it's not been one of Spurs' strengths this season, it's actually been one of their big weaknesses, is conceding from set pieces, and their lack of kind of understanding from set pieces defensively, considering they've got great set piece takers further forward, they really struggle in how to defend them, because in positions, they look up and they're defending a corner, and I don't understand what their idea is. Are they man marking? Are they zonal marking? Are they mixing the two? Are they kind of using that hybrid of certain positions, they're man marking certain players that are threatening in the area, and then positionally marking, zonally marking in areas where you think you're going to get targets? I didn't see that from that goal. From that Bournemouth goal, they whipped the ball in. Spurs not tracking their runners. Radu Dragashin, I think, I'm not trying to dig out a player and single-handedly kind of shun a player for his defending in one position, but Radu Dragashin, I think, is the player meant to be marking Dean Huijsen. Dean Huijsen runs from the central area to the back post, the whip ball in, lovely ball by Tavernier, let's just say that. Beautiful delivery, by the way, to the back post, and Huijsen's just there. Can't believe his luck, because all he does is head it straight across goal, no one anywhere near him, free as a bird in the box. And when you give a player that's got aerial quality that Dean Huijsen has, being a centre-back, it's one of your biggest traits is to be good in the air, especially in a team like Bournemouth, where you need that height and that intensity and that kind of physical presence in a back 4. He has that, Dean Huijsen, at such a young age, at just 19, but at the same time, you can use that to your advantage on set pieces, and that's exactly what Bournemouth did. Spurs didn't pick up the man, didn't spot the danger, and the goal comes from that position of poor defending from a set piece that has been consistently a problem for Tottenham this season. Bournemouth clearly know that. They clearly know what target they want to get in the box at the right time, and it's worked perfectly for Antonio Iraola's side. But there's been chances other than that, and that comes back to my point that I made just a few moments ago on that front 4. We've seen a bit more of them as the half went on. I think in the first few minutes leading up to that goal, we really hadn't seen much of Bournemouth in the final third. I think it was more Spurs in Bournemouth's half than anything in the lead up to that Bournemouth goal. But after the goal, probably in the last 15-20 minutes of the half, I think we've seen a lot more from Bournemouth. They were getting the ball into those areas, testing Spurs, kind of forcing the Spurs players to look back the way rather than always looking forward. And I think that kind of gave them a few opportunities. Nice, it was really good play in the final third. I remember the chance for Tavernier that forced the good save off Fraser Forster. Good play down the left-hand side. Nice link up between Kluivert and Kerkez. Good overlap by Kerkez. Gets to the byline, whips it across, and Tavernier had the header. He tried to glance across the goal, but really good reactionary save by Forster. But that could have been 2-0. again, from across, not dealing with the situation, Spurs not picking up the danger in the box, and they could have been 2-0 down. But I'm sure Ange Postecoglou will know what his team need to improve on. It's whether they do or not that it will be the big question in the second half, because you look at the stats and you can think, oh well, Spurs are not doing too bad here. It's not an awful position that they're in. But let's be real. When stats tell you one thing, you watch a game of football and it'll tell you another sometimes. And I have to tell you, that first half has been very below par from Spurs. They've looked poor in possession. I think they've held a lot of the ball. I mean, 67% of the possession. They're dominating the ball in terms of having more of it, but they're not dominating territory. And that sometimes goes under the radar. You think, oh, well, they're having 67% possession. Surely they're dominating the game. Surely they're the better team. Not always. When you have all that possession, I remember one point Jose Mourinho said when he beat Man City with Tottenham one point, and I remember him saying, the reporter saying to Jose Mourinho, well, City had 80% of the ball. And Jose Mourinho gave the best answer to that, and I think it's fitting to teams that want to dominate possession. And Jose Mourinho said, oh, well, they can take that stat back with them, but I'm taking the 3 points. And I think that's crucial, because many teams make a big deal of, oh, we had loads of possession, we were the better team, we had a lot of the ball. The best thing I can say is, yes, you can have a lot of the ball. It's all well and good, but you have to do something with it. And that is something that Spurs have failed to do in that first half. They haven't done enough when they've had the ball in good areas, in good positions, when they can threaten Bournemouth, but they haven't done enough with it in those areas. We've not seen much of Dominic Solanke. He's actually been pocketed, really, in that first half, more or less, by Dean Huijsen. We haven't seen much of the wide players, not much of Brennan Johnson. Kulusevski's been probably the most involved for Spurs in that first half, but again, not really getting clear-cut opportunities at goal. The midfield have been poor, giving away the ball slightly a couple of times in that half that were just unforced errors. I think the defence has looked weak for Spurs so far in that first half. I think Ben Davies and Radu Dragashin need to improve. Because so far they're getting beaten, not only in the air, but in those ground duels as well. And if Spurs don't improve, then I don't really see them coming back into this game. But there's still that time for it to change, and most certainly another half where they can switch it on. And one point I would make just before maybe it could happen, but I would, from a Bournemouth point of view, I would say be aware. Aston Villa were in this position against Spurs, and they ended up losing 4-1 in the game. They were 1-0 up at half time and were absolutely carved to pieces in the second half. I would just be aware, if I was Bournemouth, of that. Not get too carried away, and just be a bit aware of that in the second half. But I'm sure Andoni Iraola's side will know all about that. Of course, we've had a goal. I said there would be late action. There always is in the Premier League, and there has been a bit of late action. Remember Matt O'Reilly that scored for Brighton against Manchester City? Well, he won't be a hero no more at the moment for Brighton, because he has just scored an own goal that has given Fulham the lead. Fulham, who took a point away from Spurs when they went down to 10 at the weekend. Looks like they might be taking all three against Brighton this evening with minutes or so to go, about 5 minutes or so to go in that game. It is Fulham 2, Brighton 1. And Fulham, by the way, have kind of gone under the radar so far this season. If they win that game, they will jump up to 6th place. They will be just a point behind Brighton, who they are currently beating, and they will be just 4 points off top 4. Fulham going under the radar at the moment. Marco Silva's side certainly putting in the results and putting in the performances that are getting to them to where they would love to be. A lot of competition in the Premier League this season. Fulham 2, Brighton 1. Right, the second half between Bournemouth and Tottenham is on the way in just a moment, and we'll have the final stages of that game in West London as well. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Premier League Live. for our final game of our midweek bumper set of fixtures here on LFS this evening. Bournemouth 1, Spurs 0 at the break, and Spurs are back in action here on LFS at the weekend as they have a big London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday at 4:30 as we watch Tottenham take on Chelsea at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Looking forward to that one. Chelsea, of course, who put themselves up to second place in the Premier League last night after their thumping of Southampton, and they are the closest team to the league leaders Liverpool at the moment. Arsenal just behind on goal difference, but Chelsea at the moment are the team that are leading the chasing pack, shall we say, for the moment. And there's a lot of teams in behind them. There is certainly a massive cluster of teams. If you had to take into account between 5th and 12th, there is 3 points at this moment in time between those clumps of teams. Around 8 teams, all separated by just 3 points, which is, of course, a winning margin in the Premier League, of course. Obviously. One win can bring you from mid-table up into battling in Europe at this moment in time, and that's where a number of our teams would be, battling and tussling. If that were to be the case, these two teams would lose out on a position. If things were to stay as they are, which it looks likely to be at Fulham, they would both drop down a place. Bournemouth, if they were to win tonight, would go as far as just up to 9th. Spurs would be dropping down to 10th, just inside the top half. Would be Spurs. A reminder for you that there is more football over the weekends and all through December here on LFS as the festive period gets going. There's another goal at Craven Cottage as well in West London to tell you about, and it looks like Fulham will be confirming that win because they're now 3-1 up. A third goal has just been put into the back of the net, and Fulham are comfortably winning that one. The man who opened the scoring, Alex Iwobi, looks to be closing the scoring as well. It is Fulham 3 at Brighton 1. Fulham certainly back into the mix of those clutch of teams. Certainly the Premier League has been absolutely fantastic so far this season. Long may it continue. Those teams in and around the mix of that mid-table. There's a lot of competition for places at the moment. As you can see down that right hand side of your screen, there is the live table as it stands, with both Bournemouth and Fulham winning at the moment. You can see where the positions all lie. And actually, if we go as far down as the teams around about Leicester on 13 points, there are only 10 points between 16th and 5th, and 11 points between 5th and 17th. So quite not a massive gap, shall we say, between all those teams. A good run of form, and you can find yourself from a relegation battle into pushing for Europe. Really, that's how tight the Premier League is at the moment. So here's a doggy. Spurs trying to get this second half to really kick them on this evening and get them back on terms as quickly as possible, I'm sure, as the targets. Bissouma. Madison again try to roll it forward to Brennan Johnson, but not on the same page there, the Spurs forwards, and blocked off well by Adam Smith, who wins a throw-in for Bournemouth down that right-hand side. And I want to just mention this evening, before I forget, with all the controversy that has been on the Rainbow Laces campaign this week, I want to fully commit that LFS completely agrees wholeheartedly with the message of the Rainbow Laces campaign, and that football is for everyone, including those from the LGBTQ+ community, and they are more than welcome in our sport. No question about that. Whatever you may say about your political beliefs or your religious beliefs, that is not a question and not an argument to be made. Fortunately, both captains this evening have no issues with the Rainbow Laces armbands, and they both wear them, I'm sure, with great pride and great privilege. Do James Madison and Adam Smith. And of course, if you were wondering what the rainbow outline is on all of our graphics, that is exactly why we are supporting the Rainbow Laces campaign, which the Premier League support each and every year around this time. Just want to make you aware of that and remind you of that just before the campaign comes to a close this evening. It's another poor ball there by Bissouma. Overhit to find Solanke on that right-hand side, and just rules out for a goal or for a throw into Bournemouth on that side. Interesting to see what kind of reaction Spurs will have in this second half. Whatever Ange Postecoglou may have said to them at half-time. Interesting to see what sort of reaction they give in this second period. And so far, it's not been one of major change so far. To throw in by Gray. Again, Sarr failing to hold up the ball as Bournemouth again get in the way. And Davies under pressure from Evan Nielsen. Passes it back to Forster, who also was under pressure. Goodness me, Fraser Forster had confidence there. Did a little dink around Evan Nielsen. Great quality. And it might give Spurs a bit of a reward here to take from it, because here comes Kulusevski. Into space. Out to Johnson on the left-hand side. Trying to whip it. Find it across the goal. Now Bissouma will shoot. Takes a deflection on the way through. Will be a corner. Again, maybe a bit of a frustrated shot that from Yves Bissouma. I mean, Ryan Christie was always going to block that one. But it does go for the corner. Spurs certainly no shortage of corners tonight. That's their 6th corner of the evening. Bournemouth with just the one. They made that one count, did Bournemouth. Spurs take it short. Gray to whip the ball in now, and Solanke was close, but Kepa was closer, and he gathers comfortably. And there's a man who's had a up and down career as Kepa. Of course, at his peak was at Chelsea, and Real Madrid, of course, was on loan at Real Madrid last season. And on loan now at Bournemouth for this campaign. Bought by Chelsea back in 2018 for £70 million. Still one of the most expensive goalkeepers ever in Premier League history is Kepa. Not the most expensive, but one of the upper echelons in terms of expensive players. An interesting transition. On loan at Real Madrid one season, now on loan at Bournemouth another. No disrespect to Bournemouth, but not in the same planet are those two football clubs. Here's Solanke. Now Johnson across from a doggy. Good play, but better from Spurs. But it is Barney was in the way to put it behind for the corner. It's good play by Solanke on the spin. Plays it into Brennan Johnson, who spotted the overlap of a doggy. And a doggy just tried to cut it back across goal. And Zabarnyi got a right leg to it. I made no question of where he was putting that one, and out for a corner. Another one for Spurs to come here. Madison, right-footed delivery, and in-swinger. Palmed away by Kepa. Not convincingly though, as Semenyo has to battle it in his own box. And does win the battle. And now Tavernier looking for an out ball. As Kluivert makes a run. As Justin Kluivert spots the man marking him and leaves him for the dust in a doggy. And Kluivert threw in on goal. Justin Kluivert! Good save by Forster. And hooked away by Ben Davies. This is what I mean about Spurs throwing bodies forward. Bournemouth won it in their own box. All the way back in their own byline. And a great ball forward by Tavernier. Out to Kluivert, who leaves his man for dead in Destiny Udogie. And really good from Kluivert. Evan Nielsen's the slide square pass there if he wanted to take it, but Kluivert was never going to play the ball across in the form he's in at the moment. Maybe should have. And that could have been an easy tap in for 2-0, but another big moment and another big goal that would have been if it had to find the back of the net. Davies tried to stride forward, hit it straight at Christie, but Spurs keep the ball with Johnson. Squared across to Kulusevski. Now out to Sarr, into Archie Gray, who will hit one, but straight down the throat of Kepa, who gathered comfortably. And Kepa now asking for his team to keep up the level, keep up the pace. The game's certainly quite open at the start of this second half, both having chances at goal. Both teams testing each other's defences as the full-time whistle's just gone at Craven Cottage, and Fulham have beaten Brighton. So 3-1 win for Fulham on the banks of the River Thames. Justin Kluivert, what a player at the moment. Of course, has had his fair share of moves himself, the Dutchman. Of course, at Roma, Valencia, Nice, Leipzig, Ajax over the years. Lots of different football clubs. On his journey to joining Bournemouth in July of last year for just under £10 million. A great return he has given to this football club since joining. Scored 5 Premier League goals this season. Scored 7 in the whole of last season. He scored 3 in just this week alone. It's Justin Kluivert. Spurs are going to make a change here in a moment. Heung-min Son is getting ready on the sidelines. That type of outlet might be what Spurs need at this moment in time. It's given away by Bissouma, and they need to do it sooner rather than later, because here come Bournemouth again. Tavernier. Oh, just a wasted pass. Given away. Again, those breakaways. I mean, unforced errors from Spurs completely, but Bournemouth are ready to pounce when they come. Solanke now. Kulusevski. Right across. Good block and clearance by Tyler Adams. Goes behind for the Spurs corner. But again, Bissouma just gives it away. Unforced error. And on the break come Bournemouth instantly. Poor ball by Tavernier, but again, the options are there, the bodies are there, the threat is there from Bournemouth to add another goal. It's the corner taken short again, and the delivery was too far away from Ben Davies in the end. Goal kick. Yeah, the corner taken short. 1-2 between Kulusevski and Madison, and Kulusevski whips it in. Ben Davies. Yeah, it's a good delivery, but Davies just didn't get up in time and didn't make his position count. So Spurs make that change then. And Papsar leaves the field, and Heung-min Son on for the Spurs midfielder. So I'm guessing. Do you know what? I'm not going to guess what the positions are going to be. Let's just wait and see what happens for what way Spurs are going to set up now. I think what they will do is just have that single pivot in midfield with Yves Bissouma, and then have Madison off the right, Son off the left of that, and then still continue with that front three that they have. So have 5 in attack rather than the 4 that they've had so far in the game. It's that extra attacking body to just try and help them out in those areas. But look at that from Semenyo. Beautiful hold-up play, although just goes beyond his means there as Madison slipped. But I think he's been given the free kick there by the referee. Madison calling for a yellow card, I think. I mean, how's that a foul? A bit bemused by that. I think that was a foul. I mean, Madison literally tripped himself up, but referee gave the free kick. It's Christie caught in possession. He wants a foul, but the referee says no. As Solanke into the box, Kulusevski. Oh, and it's followed up and in. I think the flag's going to go up though, but Son claiming innocence. I have no idea how that happened, but it did. Christie gets caught in possession. Solanke there to pick it up. Plays it out to Kulusevski. He's well onside. Son's the one offside. He is indeed. Bounces off Kepa into the path of Son, and Son is offside when the shot is taken, so the goal will not stand. But that's dreadful goalkeeping by Kepa. I mean, maybe the ferocity of the shot kind of made it bounce off him, but the goalkeeper has to have safe hands. I mean, That was certainly not convincing from Kepa. He got away with it anyway. That Son had strayed offside in the build-up. Maybe a bit more positivity, a bit more on the right side for Spurs at the moment. Maybe you can feel it. There's maybe a goal coming. As it's given away though by Spurs again, cheaply. Adams into Evan Nielsen. Not the best of shots. Straight down the throat of the keeper, but the game is really open at the moment. Both sides having chances, and here they come again. Come Spurs. Madison into Son. Son on the edge of the box. Wants to roll it back to Madison, who curls it round and hits it wide. My goodness me. Head in hands moment for James Madison. Ange Postecoglou growing more frustrated by the second, by the chance, and the many opportunities that Spurs are just giving up time and time and time again. Madison allowed to turn. Zabarny dreadful defending. Madison tries to curl it into the top corner, and he just doesn't get the whip on it that he needs, and it goes wide of the post. Very disappointing, you would say, from a Spurs point of view. There's chances being created, but not being put away at the moment. And this is another sight they don't want to see, as Ben Davies is down at the moment. And with Spurs already having issues at centre-back, and that's certainly not going to do them any favours if Ben Davies has to leave the field here, with the likes of Mickey van de Ven and, of course, Christian Romero not available. No, the goalkeeper not available as well, and Guillermo Vicario. Bentancur out injured as well. Lots of injuries in this Spurs team, and Ben Davies might be adding to that long list of casualties in North London. It looks like it will be Pedro Porro that's going to come on in a moment here for Tottenham, and it will be the end of Ben Davies' night. So just over an hour gone, and Ben Davies, who's on a yellow card and had a fairly tough night against Evan Nielsen, you should say, and he's going to leave the field, and Pedro Porro is going to come on for him. So if I had to take a wild guess, I would guess that either Porro or Udogie would go to centre-back. In replacement of Ben Davies. We'll see what the situation will be here. And there's now going to be a yellow card coming out for, I think, the Bournemouth keeper, for time wasting, I believe. And a yellow card has been shown to Kepa by the referee Simon Hooper. I can only guess that's for time wasting, but couldn't think of any other reason. So a yellow card for the Cherries keeper. This long kick goes straight down to Son. Nicely ticked down. Solanke tried to play in Kulishevsky, but again, Bournemouth with lots of bodies in blocking the way, and Dean Huyson again involved in clearing the ball. Goes out for a throw-in to Spurs though, but sorry, to Bournemouth, apologies. And Dean Huyson so far has been absolutely faultless for Bournemouth tonight so far. Smith takes the throw in down the right hand flank. Semenyo gripped onto by Bissouma, and Udogie nips away with it. Here is Bissouma, and a spinner over the top, but too much to go anywhere near for Brennan Johnson, and Kepa will recover as Bournemouth want to make another change, and Justin Kluivert is going to come off. It's actually Bournemouth's first change of the night, and he is going to be replaced by Dango Ouattara, if I'm not mistaken. I am not mistaken. Dango Ouattara is coming on, who scored that winner against Spurs the last time Bournemouth beat them. And Dango Ouattara on the field for Justin Kluivert. Try and add a bit more of attacking threat now for the moment for Bournemouth, because they've had that threat, they've had the quality, got the ball in the right areas, just haven't been able to put it away just yet. They had been a bit more clinical. They could be further ahead in this one. As it stands, still only the one goal separates the two teams. That will give Spurs a lot of confidence that the cross comes in. And I think there might have been a touch from Solanke and then a touch from Dean Huijsen that cut it away. Just see it again, out in the right hand side. The ball into Brennan Johnson. Whips it across the box, and Solanke might have a touch. And Huijsen does in the end have the last touch. So corner to Spurs, which Madison will take in a hurry. Right footed delivery. Whipped in, away by Kepa again in the follow-up. What a save by Kepa. And Porro with a shot there. And captured the reactionary save that of Kepa in the end. Really good goalkeeping. That from the Bournemouth man, the Spaniard. Again, you can just feel the tide has turned. Momentum is in Spurs' favour now, and you feel that they're creating a lot of chances. But again, a lot of missed chances for Spurs. That's been another big kind of frailty with Tottenham this season. I have to say, that's really good from Kepa. He punches the ball away from the corner, and then on the follow-up, as the ball comes flying out, Porro takes it on the half volley, but Kepa's there to smother it as the shot comes in. Really good goalkeeping. Sometimes goalkeepers can punch it away and say, I've done my job, my defenders need to help me out, but Kepa alert, aware, and certainly commanding his box. And did well there as Tavernier nicks it away from Porro. Looking for options ahead of him. Plays it into Evan Nielsen, who lays it off now to Ryan Christie. Christie charging at the goal and hits the post. Ever so close from Christie there again. Absolute acres of space in the middle though. I mean, Tavernier just rolls it forward into Evan Nielsen, who drops off his defenders, drops into a space in around the 10 roll, lays it off to Christie, who again has time to run here again, and Evan Nielsen stretching but just goes round the post. And I think the corner's been given because Dragoshin was in the vicinity. See it again, lovely ball in behind by Christie, and Evan Nielsen, he does have the shot. It does come off Dragoshin, and it is rightfully a Bournemouth corner. Maybe a bit of momentum and a few good opportunities here for Bournemouth that they might need to take away. A second goal might just be exactly the right thing for Bournemouth at the moment, just to settle them a bit more. They look a bit open, a bit nervous at times, defending Spurs. A second goal would certainly settle those nerves a bit. As Marcus Tavernier, his whip ball to Dean Huijsen opened the scoring. Tavernier in again, and the header in down in the box, and I think the foul's been given anyway against Bournemouth. So a free kick to Tottenham. See it again. Yeah, good ball in. It's Dango Ouattara. Just heads it straight down in the box. There's no real threat on the cross or on the header. And I think there's been another yellow card handed out here. Yeah, Tyler Adams has been given a yellow. And I think he was the one that committed the foul in the middle on the Spurs defender. And that gets him a booking. So Tyler Adams, the American international. Has had his massive injury problems. As Tyler Adams has actually been injured for the vast majority of this season so far, since pre-season. Has been involved here and there for Bournemouth since the start of November, but hasn't been massively involved from the start since early in the season. And about 20 minutes to go or so at the Vitality. Bournemouth still lead, as tight as it can be. But there's still more than enough chances for more goals. Lovely hold-up play by Evan Nielsen. And now the cross whipped into the box by Ouattara. And the deflection caught out Fraser Forster. And it will go behind for the corner. Good threat by Ouattara on that left-hand side. Whips the early cross in. Got the deflection and gets Bournemouth another corner. And it will be their third of the night. And the first one that will be taken from the left-hand side. The last two corners have been taken from the right. It will be Tavernier that will take it once again. This time it will be an outswinger from the left-hand side. Tavernier, a left-footed player, of course, and will use his left foot to try and whip this one in. Tavernier lifted into the box, flicked on by Ouattara again, but was going wide. But I think the foul has been given once again against Bournemouth. Bissouma, Dragoshin, Porro into Bissouma again, who can burst away in the middle. Not got many options as Porro charged down well by Ouattara. Spurs will get the throw in. Kulishevsky trying to help out with that throw in and puts it straight out of play. So once again, that sloppiness in Spurs' play, it's been evident all night. Just haven't been able to get the crispness in their passing all the way through the last 70 minutes. They've just been kind of linchpinned with those really poor passes every now and again. Lovely play by Ouattara in the air. Tavernier lost it, but lovely work from Christie to feed it out to Semenyo, who breaks onto his left and just over the bar by Antoine Semenyo. Certainly has his great strikes for Bournemouth over the years. Certainly this season. Oh my goodness, given away! Tyler Adams! Bit of a deflection, Evan Nielsen follows it in. Bournemouth do find a second. And an absolute calamity from Tottenham at the back. What is going on? Dreadful defending. And that goal sums up Spurs this whole evening. They have been dreadful in little spells and little moments. What are they doing here? Dragoshin back to Foster. Plays it straight into the path of... trying to say that is... yeah, Evan Nielsen's... oh, it might be tight. Maybe an offside might be called here. Very, very close. We will wait and see what VAR have to say. Oh, it's so close. He's ahead of the goalkeeper, is Evan Nielsen, so that won't come into question, but it's whether... oh... do you know what, to be honest, I actually don't know what they're looking at. And that's down to my lack of knowledge on that situation. But the decision will be no goal. Offside against Evan Nielsen. And luckily for Spurs, they get away with one. Whether they should have or not is another question, but certainly the red faces of Tottenham certainly saved their blushes there, to be honest, by VAR. And Evan Nielsen was in an offside position. But really, Spurs being let off the hook tenfold. Absolutely dreadful. I mean, it's just woeful play. I mean, the goalkeeper just played it into a path of a player that was under pressure. And Tyler Adams on the press. And the midfield... I don't know who the midfielder was for Spurs, and maybe he's lucky that I don't know who he is, because I could name him, but whoever it was just being pressed by his man. He didn't have a clue what was going on, and the ball just came to him, and Tyler Adams just nicked it away. Had the shot, Adams, bounced back off the goalkeeper. Adams played it into the path of Evan Nielsen, who tapped it in, but was in an offside position. But, to be honest, Spurs are getting away with a lot tonight. And if Bournemouth don't come away with the 3 points, it will be, not only from Bournemouth's point of view, but a big disappointment, you would have to argue, because Spurs have really not deserved anything. It's really dreadful in moments. I mean, what's Fraser Foster doing here? What's that? I mean, sometimes I question what the actual message to a goalkeeper is. Because sometimes they play it from the back and sometimes they just knock it long. But, I mean, I don't even know what that was from Fraser Foster, what he was trying to do. Madison trying to rescue something for Spurs. Again, Dean Huijsen stepping in and thumping it away. Up the fields, taking no prisoners there as the 19-year-old Bournemouth defender, whose goal at the moment would be giving Bournemouth all 3 points, as it stands. And Bournemouth would go above Spurs in the Premier League table, as it stands as well, up to 9th. Spurs would be dropping to 10th. Look at this, second to every ball, a yard off it. Here's Tavernier, edge of the box, just wide. Another good opportunity, but another one gone a-begging from Bournemouth. Dreadful again from Spurs. Bissouma has been awful in this second half in moments. Cheap giveaways galore from Spurs in that midfield. Just a yard off it again. Bournemouth just have that intensity. Spurs just look like they're dazed at the moment. They haven't a clue what they're doing. They're lucky at this moment in time that they're not further behind. This could be a lot more than what it is. The scoreline quite deceiving at the moment. And the fact that it is only 1-0 to Bournemouth, but there's been many's a chance for them to add to that lead that they haven't taken at the moment. I mean, Spurs get a free kick there, maybe a bit fortunate, but free kick given by the referee. And here's Son. Charged down well by Semenyo, but Son battling back. Look at that from Semenyo. Getting back and doing the defensive work as he hooks it up the field, but one back by Dragoshin. Spinning around was Kulusevski, but a bit too cute with that one as Adams. Now plays to Ouattara. 3-on-3 for Bournemouth. Ouattara looking to find his way through. Gets past Dragoshin, and this shot is over the bar again by Ouattara. But again, that midfield of Spurs has just disappeared. No control, no composure. They're giving the ball away time and time again, and Bournemouth letting them off the hook time and time again. And that is going to make that there's going to be a change here for Bournemouth. And Antonio Iriola is going to bring off Ryan Christie, and coming on in his place will be Lewis Cook. Certainly he would take no prisoners in the middle, the experienced midfielder for Bournemouth, Lewis Cook. He's had a long stint at the football club, 8.5 years. Lewis Cook has been here since he joined from Leeds back in July of 2016. Here's Kerkez, now Ouattara. No hurry to get it forward there on that occasion, and back to Adams. Zabarnyi. Now Huijsen. Space to break forward. Now finds Tavernier. Ouattara. Lovely play by Bournemouth. Ouattara steps across his man again, trying to find it into the box, and Tavernier was stretching. And away comes a doggy, but not very far as Semenyo wins it back again. Smith. Zabarnyi. Into midfield. Again, Spurs just look hopeless in the middle. Every time Bournemouth get it into the central areas, Spurs have no one there. As that ball by Kepa is just knocked out of play, so it will be a Spurs throw. Double change incoming in a moment for Tottenham. Timo Werner, and if I'm not mistaken, that is Lucas Bergvall as well, who's getting ready. Another one of the Spurs youngsters that's impressed this season. That's a nice turn by Solanke. Again, well charged down by Bournemouth. But Kerkez a bit overcommittal, and giving away the free kick on James Maddison. Maddison again complaining that Kerkez didn't get a yellow card, but I think the referee has shut him up quite quickly there. No one likes a complainer. No one likes a mouthpiece either, anyway. Free kick for Spurs. Maddison will take it as they try and get as many bodies as forward as possible. Tottenham, Bournemouth have quite the number back. See all of their players back here at the moment. It's Madison, poor delivery, but picked up by Johnson. And the follow-up is wide, but the flag was up anyway on the far side against Tottenham. So nothing would have counted. Yeah, good spot by the official that side. Very congested area, and he just spotted that Johnson had just strayed offside. Good spot by the linesman. And Spurs will have their double substitution now. So Madison and Bissouma are going to leave the fields, and replacing them are Timo Werner and Lucas Bergvall. So a switch in the middle for Tottenham. All three of their starting midfielders have now been substituted. Well, Spurs, as of recently, haven't been the most convincing on the road. Lost 3 of the last 4 games away from home in all competitions. A Semenyo and Tavernier over the bar. What a chance. But another one missed by Bournemouth. How many are they going to get that's not going to find the back of the net? Lovely from Semenyo. Bergvall with his first involvement gets blasted past by Semenyo down that right hand side, and the cut back into the box to a free Marcus Tavernier. All he has to do is cushion the ball into the back of the net, and he strikes through it, leaning back, and it goes flying over the bar. But another chance missed and given away, and Spurs let off the hook again. That's poor by Gray, but Tavernier again couldn't find a teammate. Gives it away now. Here's Kulishevsky. Looking for an option. Has to go back to Bergvall. Now Udogie. Out to Werner. Timo Werner looking up, looking for an option. Again, Bournemouth, the first player from Bournemouth to react is Barnier, and that will roll out for a throw though, but it will go Spurs' way. Udogie will take that throw on the left-hand side with less than 10 minutes to go. Bournemouth lead by a goal to 0. Long throw by Udogie, brought down by Kulishevsky, but again stolen away from him by Tavernier. And now Kerkez looking for options. Feeds it into Ouattara, who will get the throw in from Dragoshin. Bournemouth can get themselves up the field. As I said, Spurs not the most convincing away from home in recent games. Just the 1 win in their last 4 games on the road in all competitions, including 2 of their last 3 in the Premier League. They have gone on the road and lost, away at Brighton and away at Crystal Palace. That last win in the away from home came against Man City in their last away game. And of course lost away at Galatasaray in the Europa League as well in their last 4. In terms of Premier League games on the road, even less convincing for Spurs. Have won just 2 of their last 6 games in the Premier League this season away from home. Semenyo again cuts it back. Evan Nielsen leaves it for Tavernier now. Ouattara blocked. Again he will have another chance. Ouattara over the bar. How many chances do they need? Andoni Iraola can't believe it on the sidelines. I mean, they have had more than a hatful of chances in the last 5-10 minutes, and not a single one of them has found its way past Fraser Forster. And the one that did find the back of the nets, Evan Nielsen was in an offside position. But they are creating chances galore at the minute, and they're letting Spurs off the hook time and time and time again. Here's Werner. Into the box it comes. Looks to go himself. That's lacking all sorts of quality as it goes over the bar. It's end to end at this moment in time, and you feel there's another goal in it. Whether it be a Bournemouth second goal or whether it be a Spurs equaliser, you certainly feel there's a goal in this one later on. I think Spurs have given up on defending. They can't afford to just keep sitting back. They have to throw everything at this now with 6.5 minutes plus the additional time to go. It's a race they need to win, and at the moment they're not winning it as it stands. And if it keeps going the way it is, Bournemouth are bound to convert one of the chances that they're creating. as that foul is given away by Antoine Semenyo. And the referee, Simon Hooper, giving the free kick to Spurs. It looked a bit soft for me, but Bournemouth are going to make a substitution or actually a triple substitution just before Spurs take this free kick. So Evan Nielsen, he's going to be coming off. He's going to be replaced by Enes Unal. So Evan Nielsen, who thought he'd find the net this evening in an offside position and not gifted with that goal. Marcus Tavernier is also going to leave the field. And that third player that's going to leave the field for Bournemouth is going to be Antoine Semenyo. So Evan Nielsen, Tavernier and Semenyo all leaving the field, and they're going to be replaced by Unal, Brooks and Billing. So Philip Billing, David Brooks and Enes Unal are all on, and that means all of the front four that started the game for Bournemouth are now off the field, after Kluivert was substituted a bit earlier on and Ryan Christie was the other of the 5 subs that Bournemouth have now made. And Spurs haven't made 5, they've made 4 this evening, but of course can't make any more because they've made them on 3 different occasions. So neither side has any subs left, with around 5 minutes to go, plus any added time. Bournemouth still leading by 1-0. And the last time Bournemouth beat Spurs here was back in May of 2019, when Spurs actually went down to 9 men in that game. They lost 2 players through red cards, did Spurs, and Bournemouth won that game by 1-0. A 91st minute winner from Nathan Ake. Son and Foyth got sent off in that one. Here's Brooks in the box, gets a corner off Archie Gray and keeps Bournemouth up the field. David Brooks, who was actually replaced in the starting 11 for this one by Tyler Adams. And it gets Bournemouth up the field and keeps them in the right area to try and find a second goal, which they've committed quite a number of bodies into the box here for, including the man who got the goal in the first half, Dean Huijsen. Let's see what Brooks can do from this set piece. His first of the game, left-footed delivery, flicked away at the front post. Billing back into the mix, and the header is over the bar by Ouattara. I think he might have been offside anyway. Maybe he was just on, who knows. Doesn't matter because it went over the bar and a goal kick as Spurs pour out from the back again. Here's Unal, hits it straight at Foster. We'll have another chance at it here. Ouattara now whips it into the box again, just overheads. I mean, this is a masterclass in how you do not find a second goal at the moment from Bournemouth. Spurs have given them so many chances. I mean, they're almost begging for them to score a second goal at the moment, it seems, in the way that Spurs are playing. Here's Son, and had nowhere to go but run into Bournemouth bodies as Zabarnyi picks it back up. Unal holds it up well. Back to Zabarnyi. Now forward for Brooks. He's got acres of space to try and find Ouattara in the middle. Try to feed it in behind Dragoshin and got a block in the way there. Son gets past Cook. Now Kulishevsky. Lots of bodies in Spurs colours ahead of him. Finds Johnson. Out to Kulishevsky again. We will lift it into the box. Alanki will flick it on, but fall with the Son on the edge. Son trying to find a yard. Well closed down by Tyler Adams, but Spurs keep the ball at the moment here with Gray. 2 minutes to go. Bergvall looking for options. Gives it off to Dragoshin. Now Archie Gray. Out to Werner. Trying to find his way forward at Werner. Nice cute link up there, but again stolen away by David Brooks. Finds it up to Unal again. Good battle by Archie Gray to win it back, and now Bergvall. Again, Bournemouth not committing too many bodies forward. 9 of the right field players back, only Unal is the one that stayed forward. at the moment as Porro try to feed it through, but Billing does well and now has the space to find Ouattara as a 2-on-2 here for Bournemouth. Ouattara up against Dragoshin. Bergvall on the scene, but Ouattara over the bar. I mean, how many shots has Dango Ouattara had since coming on the field, and how many have gone over the bar? I think about 4 now. See that again? That's actually his 5th shot of the game, Ouattara. He was substituted on in the 64th minute, and he's had 5 shots, and not a single one of them have been on target so far. 4 off target and 1 blocked. I mean, in total, Bournemouth had 5 shots in the first half. They've had 12 in the second half. And I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the vast majority of them have probably come in the last 10-15 minutes. As we're into the last minute of the 90s, so we'll see how long we'll be added on. As Huijsen knocks forward, Billing tries to hold it up, but given away by Spurs again. Back to Smith. Zabarnyi. He will chip it forward as we will have 6 added minutes at the end of the 90. 6 minutes for Bournemouth to either find a second or hold on, and for Spurs to try and find that equaliser. It has really failed for them to find in this game so far. And we'll hold off on giving player of the match, because late drama is not uncommon when it comes to either being here. I remember the game here between Bournemouth and Newcastle earlier in the season, and Newcastle 1-1 it was in that game in the late stages. Bournemouth thought they got a late winner. It was cancelled out by VAR on that day, so I will hold my breath on waiting to see what the final score will be, as that's not good for Spurs, because Heung-min Son had drifted offside. And a free kick for Bournemouth. I mean, at this moment in time, if it stays as it is, there's only one person on this field of play that deserves player of the match tonight, and it would be Dean Huijsen. Fabulous goal, but that's only half the story. I mean, you can say what you like about him possibly getting the winning goal, but for such a young player to come into the side, hasn't started a game since September, at just 19, against the Spurs attack that has been ruthless this season, been one of the top scoring teams in the Premier League, and made them look semi-professional, made them look ordinary at times. What a ball. Lovely skill by Billing, trying to cut it around the box again. Body's in the way. Adams, now to Ouattara, surely now, Ouattara cuts it back for Adams. Good block by Bergvall, called a handball, but referee plays on as that ball over the top. Ouattara will rescue it. The flag stays down. Ouattara still alive, feeds it in for Kerkez. Kerkez across, blocked behind for the corner. But again, Spurs are at 6s and 7s. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I get that Ange Postecoglou would rather Spurs win a game 5-4 or whatever it may be, than rather than be pragmatic, and he has to try and go for it 1-0 down late in a game, but the lack of bodies back for Spurs is quite remarkable at how many chances Bournemouth have had late in this game. And credit to Bournemouth, they've not been afraid, they've not sat back and tried to put all 11 men behind the ball. They've continued to fly bodies forward, to take those chances, take those risks. The corner comes short. Kerkez with delivery, and Enes Unal heading straight at Fraser Forster. As we're halfway through the added time. 3 gone, 3 to go. Nice flick ball forward by Werner into the path of Kulishevsky. Solanke the only one in the box for Spurs at the minute. The cross comes in. Again Huijsen gets in the way and heads it clear. And great bit of play there from Adam Smith in winning Bournemouth the throw. But quite remarkable tonight. Dean Huijsen. I have not seen a defender, a centre-back, have a greater performance in a long time. And Dean Huijsen has been the epitome of Bournemouth this evening. An absolute fabulous performance tonight. Gray. Dragoshin into Bergvall as Bournemouth were playing a press there. Here's Bergvall. A doggy. Spurs continue to move the ball around, but not going very direct at the moment. They need to get the ball up the field if they're going to try and get an equaliser. Again, Bergvall beating off the ball. Lack of physicality, said the referee. No foul, but Unal couldn't hold it up and gives it away back to a doggy. Now into Kulishevsky. Down the right side, goes for the early cross. Solanke with a flick. But that one took it away from anyone in the box. And behind for a goal kick. Goodness me. I am sure Ange Postecoglou is on the sidelines wondering what has happened tonight. This inconsistency from Spurs continues. And in their last 4 games in the Premier League, if there was ever a game where you thought, yeah, Spurs will drop points there, it was Man City away. But it's the only game in their last 4 that they've actually picked up 3 points. Lost at home to Ipswich, which got Ipswich their first win of the season, by the way. Drew at home to 10-man Fulham at the weekend, and now seemingly going to lose away at Bournemouth. Albeit it's not an embarrassment to lose away at Bournemouth, considering Arsenal and City have done the same this season. But to be honest, the level of performance tonight has been really remarkable from Spurs. It's been well below par. And if they come away with anything tonight, Spurs, they will be thanking their lucky stars, because Bournemouth have had more than enough chances to take this game well away. And look at that, just really smart. Not taking a risk, just letting it roll for the goal kick. And with mere seconds to go, it looks like Bournemouth are about to put down their first home win against Spurs in over 5 years. And that was their only Premier League win against Tottenham at home. Second home win in the Premier League against Spurs is going to be coming here in a second. When Kepa kicks this ball. Up in the air it comes. Bournemouth win the first header. Win the second as well, as ball's flying around. And that is the end of the game. Tonight Tottenham were very much second best. If they had have come with anything tonight and headed back up to North London with something, they would have been incredibly grateful, incredibly lucky. Tonight Bournemouth outfought them, outworked them, outmuscled them and outplayed them wholeheartedly. Spurs were nowhere tonight. From defensively through midfield and up front, they offered nothing. And they have got nothing from this game. Andone Iraola, his team is epitomised by organised chaos. They have had more than enough chances to win this one tonight. They did win it in the end through that wonderful header from Dean Huijsen from a corner in the 17th minute. A long time ago that was now. They had more to extend to that lead. Loads of chances. But in the end, in true fashion, Bournemouth come away with a nearest and dearest of wins that takes them above Spurs in the Premier League table. But Spurs, being Spursy as always it seems. Final score at the Vitality Stadium: Bournemouth 1, Tottenham 0. And that rounds off our midweek action from the Premier League. Some big results and some big teams not getting their way on the road this midweek. It started on Tuesday night as Crystal Palace recorded just their second win of the season as they headed to Ipswich and came away with all 3 points. Leicester beat West Ham by 3-1, leaving Julian Lopetegui's job in the balance in East London. Everton thrashed Wolves by 4-0, their biggest win of the season for Sean Dyche's team against Gary O'Neill's struggling Wolves. City ended their 7-game winless run with a 3-0 victory over Nottingham Forest, who are flying high in the Premier League this season. It was a 6-goal thriller at St James's Park as Newcastle rescued a point late on against lacklustre Liverpool, but Salah was on fire once again. Another 2 goals, taking him back to top of the scoring charts in the Premier League and leading the goal scoring charts with 13 Premier League goals this season. Mo Salah. It ended 3-3 in the North East. Chelsea cruised their way to victory against Southampton, who were down to 10. 5-1 victors were Chelsea, and they are certainly in the mix at the top of the table this season. Arsenal got back to winning ways, and a big win at home against Manchester United, a team now they've beaten on the last 4 occasions. A rivalry seems a bit of a struggle for Man United in recent seasons against Arsenal. Their 4th successive league defeat against the Gunners, 2-0 last night, both from corners. Villa recorded their first win in 8 against Brentford. 8 games without a win in the Premier League for Villa, but they got back to winning ways against Brentford, who picked up just a single point away from home, and that was not to be added to last night at Villa Park. And tonight, Fulham put 3 past Brighton to win 3-1 after that draw away at Spurs at the weekend. Fulham up into, you wouldn't believe that, up into 6th place. Fulham certainly going under the radar this season, it seems. And Bournemouth up into the top half as they beat Tottenham by a 1-0. If we show you the Premier League table then, at the end of this evening, 14 games down, and still another, 24 to come. So still well over half of the season still to go, but this is where we stand after 14 games. Liverpool lead the way. 11 wins from their first 14 league games this season, 35 points. 7 points clear of second and third in Chelsea and Arsenal, both in those positions. City come follow behind them on 26 points in 4th. Brighton in 5th on 23, and then Fulham, Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa all on 22 points around about those European places. Bournemouth in 9th on 21, and Spurs just inside the top half on 20 points. They're joined alongside, just below them, Brentford and Newcastle, also on 20 points, but behind Spurs on goal difference. United got themselves, at least momentarily, into the top half at the weekends, but last night fell back into the bottom half. 19 points from their first 14, and their first defeat under Ruben Amorim at the Emirates last night. West Ham, who've lost 3 of their last 5 league games, has them in a bit of bother in the lower table, with Everton and Leicester and Palace on the coattails of the Hammers, and in the bottom 3, Ipswich, Wolves and Southampton all still in single digit figures for points this season. That is it from Premier League Live tonight. Bournemouth making Spurs look lacklustre and really poor on the south coast, and no more than ordinary for Ange Postecoglou's team, who he declares he always wins a trophy in his second season. Well, he doesn't know what team he's managing, because this is Tottenham we're talking about. And we watch them again on Sunday afternoon in a London derby as they take on Chelsea. For now, thanks very much for joining us. Great to have your company this evening. For now, Bournemouth making Spurs look really poor on the south coast. Night night.